everybody. This is a little one about how to assert your status. Now, people have been asking me questions about asserting your status and things like that, and so this is not very long, and it's not all conclusive about what I've done, but it's pretty good. If you do this, then you should be covered. Anyways, copies of these documents can be found in my private group at Yahoo called Administrating Your Public Servants. I have YouTube videos that are available, videos of private information shares that show these and other court citations that are available for a donation. Donations to support this work are appreciated. This last paragraph is for all the Satanist order follower revenue officers operating in their private capacity under the Federal Tax Lien Act of 1966, because they can put their privileges and benefits up their rectal orifice. I prefer gold or silver coin, but as an extremely less desirable alternative, I can accept the IOUs, Federal Reserve notes, PayPal gifts, checks, money orders, etc. Send me an email for particulars. Anyways, a status. The reason I'm putting this in here is because it's all Roman law, okay? And it's all martial law. It's classification of persons. This is the Law of Persons by Joseph R. Long, published 1912. Classifications of persons, section 1, okay? The very first section in this book. As the Roman law distinguished three kinds of personal status or degree of legal capacity and classified human beings with respect thereto as follows. And so status is everything under Roman law. And under common law, status is nothing. Loss of freedom is capitis diminutio maxima. A Roman citizen cannot legally be sold into slavery, but he might become a slave by condemnation for a crime or by being captured by an enemy. And so, again, this is all Roman law, and it's about slavery, too, is what it is. Status, standing, state, condition. Compare state. A corporation has no status as a citizen outside the jurisdiction where it was created. Anderson Law Dictionary, 1889 edition. Corporation is a citizen is a corporation. If they're assaulting you with the Satanic Trusts, U.S. citizen slave, then you're in the United States. I don't care if you're in Texas or wherever. And this is National Mutual Insurance Company of the District of Columbia versus Tidewater Transfer Company, U.S. Supreme Court, 1948. We therefore decline to overrule the opinion of Chief Justice Marshall. We hold that the District of Columbia is not a state within Article 3 of the Constitution. In other words, cases between citizens of the district and those of the states are not included in the catalog of controversies over which Congress could give jurisdiction to the federal courts by virtue of Article 3. In other words, Congress has exclusive legislative jurisdiction over citizens of Washington District of Columbia, and through their plenary power, military dictatorship, people, nationally covers those citizens even when in one of the several states, as though the district expands for the purpose of regulating its citizens wherever they go throughout the states of the Union. And so that's how they do it, okay? In Roman law, it's all coming from the Roman cult. Roman law, civil law, Roman civil law are convertible phrases meaning the same system of jurisprudence, that rule of action which every particular nation, commonwealth, or city has established peculiarly for itself, more properly called municipal law, to distinguish it from the law of nature from international law. That's Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition. And now a little diversion. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to click the bell next to the subscribe button so you're notified when there's a new upload. And there's my front page, and there's the bell, the arrow pointing to the bell. Click on that. A little pop-up coming up will say, ask if you want to be notified. Anyways, a birth certificate is a badge of slavery. These Satanists coerce your parents into registering your birth. The Satanists coerce your parents into applying for a Social Security number. All of this is because of ignorance of your parents and you, quite frankly. Mark Passio calls it ignorance, which the root word being ignore. A Social Security number is a number for a Satanic Trust. You and your parents gave up your Christian government rights and responsibilities and surrendered them for satanic privileges, is what essentially happened. But it's undoable. Okay, so the question is, did you give up your God-given rights for some satanic privileges? A citizen of the United States is a civilly dead entity operating as co-trustee and co-beneficiary of the Public Charitable Trust, the Constructive Satanic Trust of U.S. Inc. under the 14th Amendment, which upholds the debt of USA and U.S. Inc. That's a summary of 5 pages of the Congressional Record dated June 13th, 1967. Every taxpayer is assessed a trust having sufficient interest in preventing the abuse of the trust to be recognized in the field of this court's prerogative jurisdiction. That's in Rebolens. Did you give up your God-given rights for some satanic privileges? Slater's protestations to the effect that he derives no benefit from the United States government have no bearing on his legal obligations to pay income taxes. Unless the defendant can establish that he's not a citizen of the United States, the IRS possesses authority to attempt to determine his federal tax liability. Obviously, Slater gave up his God-given rights in favor of satanic privileges. Did you give up your God-given rights for some satanic privileges? This is the D.C. Code, located at Chapter 56, Section 1617, located at 31 Stat 1432, a legal estate to be the Sestake use. And this is more of the D.C. Code, located at 31 Stat 1189, which was approved on March 3rd, 1901 by the 56th Congress, and be it further enacted that in the interpretation and construction of said code, the following rules shall be observed, namely, third, the word person and shall be held to apply to partnerships and corporations. Okay, so again, it's all fictitious entities, and this is again more DC Code 31 Stat 1230, Section 252, presumption of death. If any person shall leave his domicile without having any known intention of changing the same and shall not return and be heard from for 7 years, the bottom line is that this gives them the right to presume you're dead, okay? A Sestake trust is a trust for a dead thing. And so this gives them the right, the presumption that you're dead. And this is all coming from the Roman cult. This is Tomlin's Law Dictionary, 1835 edition, Volume 2, under the definition of mort main. Yet still it was found difficult to set bounds to ecclesiastical ingenuity. That's Roman cult people. For when they were driven out of all their former holds, they devised a new method of conveyance by which the lands were granted not to themselves directly, but to nominal fees to the use of the religious houses, thus distinguishing between the possession and the use and receiving the actual profits, while a season of the land remained in the nominal fee, who was held by the courts of equity, then under the direction of the clergy, that's the Roman cult, to be bound in conscience to account, which is a tax, for his Sestake use for the rents and emoluments of the estate. And it is to these inventions that our practitioners are indebted for the introduction of uses and trusts, the foundation of modern conveyancing. And if it's the foundation of modern conveyancing in 1835, it certainly is to this day. And this is Title 15, United States Code, Section 44, definitions. Corporation shall be deemed to include any company, trust, so-called Massachusetts Trust Association, incorporated or unincorporated, which is organized to carry on business for its own profit or that of its members and has shares of capital or capital stock or certificates of interest, and any company trust. It basically lists all of the same thing, except it says without shares of capital or capital stock or certificates of interest. And so the bottom line is that it's a Title 15 United States Code, Section 44, unincorporated corporation. That's a Sestake trust. That's exactly what they're talking about there. But individuals, when acting as representatives for a collective group, cannot be said to be exercising their personal rights and duties, nor be entitled to their purely personal privileges. Rather, they assume the rights, duties, and privileges of the artificial entity or association of which they are agents or officers, and they are bound by its obligations. Okay, so when you go in there and you tell that clerk masquerading as a judge that you are the straw man, well, that's a contract. You just bought in and said, yes, I want to accept responsibility. That's why they put you in jail. And did you give up some of your God-given rights for some satanic privileges? And now a little diversion, announcing a subscription-based YouTube channel called Sovereignty International. The recommended cost of the subscription is currently $1.99 because it avoids the advertising only, $1.99 a month. The reason I even set this thing up is I wanted to have some exclusive material on there, but I really can't think of anything that I want to have on there exclusively that I don't want to have available for everybody, because my whole agenda is to expose the fraud that these New World Order Satanists are engaging in, which will help us all. And so I can't think of anything that I want to have on there exclusively. I've got an Arlington private information share that's on there exclusively, but it really doesn't say anything different than any other private information share says. So anyway, so I'm currently publishing 5 videos a week. It says 6, but it's actually 5. My YouTube channel also, people had trouble finding it, so I put a link here so people can find it. It's also here at the top of the page, and I had someone send me a $1.99 donation, and I sent them an email and asked them if they wanted me to sign them up, because I couldn't, and I'd be happy to refund it if they wanted me to. But they haven't gotten back with me. The point being is that I cannot sign anybody up. You got to sign yourself up. You got to go through YouTube. Imagine they're probably going to want to set up some payment arrangements or something, and so I have no control over that. I might be able to remove somebody, but that's about the extent of it. So anyways, back to the original topic at hand. Did you give up your God-given rights for some satanic privileges? And this is Uniform Commercial Code 1-206, presumptions. Whenever the Uniform Commercial Code creates a presumption with respect to a fact or provides that a fact is presumed, the trier of fact must find the existence of the fact unless and until evidence is introduced that supports a finding of its non-existence. And so this tells them that they have to, that presumptions are there, and they have to make the presumptions. Okay, and so then let's go and talk about some of the presumptions. This is Texas Business and Commerce Code, which is the same thing. It's Texas version of the Uniform Commercial Code, Section 3.308. In an action with respect to an instrument, the authenticity of and authority to make each signature on the instrument are admitted unless specifically denied in the pleading. So they go and assault you with their U.S. citizen slave, and then they forge your signature onto a contract, and you don't even know that's what's going on. And so how can you deny that there's a contract or challenge the validity of the signature if you don't even know that's what happened? If the validity of a signature is denied in the pleadings, the burden of establishing the validity is on the person claiming the validity. So this is what these Satanists do. Okay, these people are Satanists. They are the absolute lowest form of life there is. This is Texas Business Commerce Code 8.114. So what they're doing is they're creating a security and circulating it on Wall Street. That's exactly what they're doing. Evidentiary rules concerning certificated securities. The following rules apply in an action on a certificated security against the issuer. Unless specifically denied in the pleadings, each signature on a security certificate or in a necessary endorsement is admitted. If the effectiveness of a signature is put in issue, the burden of establishing effectiveness is on the party claiming under the signature, but the signature is presumed to be genuine or authorized. That's what these Satanists do. Okay, that's exactly what these Satanists do. These Roman cult Satanist bar member whores masquerading as a judge forge your signature onto a contract and then presume it's authorized and authentic. Who's going to call a judge a liar? And that's how they're populating the prisons. Carl Lentz brought up the issue of forgery against CPS when they stole his son in his successful one-page lawsuit. See my Judicial Whores video. So, did you give up your God-given rights for some satanic privileges? The Roman cult equals warfare. You have to treat this like warfare because it is warfare. That's exactly what it is. These people are Satanists. And a little diversion now. My blog is sovereigntyinternational.wordpress.com. My website is sovereigntyinternational.fyi. My email address is engineerwin@yahoo. My YouTube profiles are Sovereign Living and Sovereignty International. My Facebook community page, I deleted it due to censorship on the part of Facebook. My private group at Facebook is being deleted. It's hard to ban 17,000 people off a group. And I'm not going to let Facebook profit from my hard work. My Yahoo private group is Administrating Your Public Servants, and my Google private group is called Administrating Your Public Servants. Anyways, back to the topic at hand. Did you give up your God-given rights for some satanic privileges? State citizenship is a vested substantial property right, and the state has no power to divest or impair these rights. That's why they need to fabricate U.S. citizen slave status. A state citizen is immune from any and all government attacks and procedure absent contract. And every man is independent of all laws except those prescribed by nature, natural law. He is not bound by any institutions formed by his fellow men without his consent. Contract. There's got to be a contract. Did you give up your God-given rights for some satanic privileges? The rights of individuals are restricted only to the extent that they've been voluntarily surrendered by citizenship to the agencies of government. These people are Satanists. So, the number one rule in asserting yourself is educate yourself. Okay, we're in this position because of ignorance. They have us in what they view to be contracts, numerous contracts. They're all a fraud. It's Satanism. If we claim fraud and get out of a contract and then go back into the contract, we'll no longer be able to claim fraud. In other words, if we claim fraud, say over a driver's license, and then go and apply for the driver's license, then you can't claim fraud anymore because you knew exactly what you were doing. You got to plan your course of action, and true freedom requires a change of behavior. Okay, that's really where it has to go to. We have to change the way we do things. It's a way of life. It really is. Do you know who you are? We have provided information that we are one of the slaves. Okay, this is about recording documents. This procedure provides documentation in their system that we're not the slave, that can be used as evidence if needed. And all land titles registries have a miscellaneous category where you should be able to record anything. But we, the people, have been asleep at the wheel. And because of corruption, many bureaucrats refuse to record. And so, again, we have to know the law and we have to assert ourselves. That's up to us. Many state legislatures like to discourage these type of recordings by making filing fees high and making all sorts of requirements. Texas has really high filing fees. Utah only allows land title documents, but that's easily defeated, actually. These are only two examples. I have not checked every state. It doesn't matter where you record documents as long as anybody can go and see them at any time. And so there's an online service that provides document recording services in a cost-effective way. It's called nationalpublicregistry.info. You can do a Google search and find it. The Pinal County Recorder told me that they would record a hamburger if I paid a fee, and they've actually changed that recently. And I've had people get their documents returned to them, so I don't know what their policy is anymore. I need to go down there and talk to them. Anyways, this is their link to their website. I have several documents recorded in Washington County, Utah. And remember, they only accept land title documents, but again, you can still record them. I have hundreds of documents recorded in Pinal County, Arizona. There are many who say you have to do a UCC-1 to claim yourself as a creditor and secured party against a strawman debtor. I have done that, but after research, I consider it a mistake. I know lots of people who have done bonds based on this principle and ended up in jail. I do not put anything about the Uniform Commercial Code in any of my documents, except that occasionally I may reference it at the same time saying that is their code and what they are doing. Okay, again, in this document it shows what it's their code and it's showing how they're enslaving you. And the reason is because of the Clearfield Doctrine. Governments descend to the level of mere private corporation, take on characteristics of a mere private citizen, where private, corporate, commercial paper and securities is concerned. For purposes of suit, such corporations and individuals are regarded as entities entirely separate from government, and that's U.S. Supreme Court. So again, I stay away from the Uniform Commercial Code. That's all Satanism. The following are some things that you can do to defeat their presumptions that they take in martial law. It's best to record documents that you want to force the bail priest to take judicial notice of, okay? All judges have to take judicial notice of all government documents. Once you record it, it becomes a government document. That's why you want to record it. You can literally make your own law by recording documents. After 30 days, it becomes public policy, which is the same thing as a regulation. So you record at a minimum. There's an affidavit of corporate denial, a copyright notice, and criminal complaints. You have to defeat their presumptions, okay? And the copyright notice is not mandatory. And now a little diversion. CubeYard.com. For great custom websites, domain names, and hostings, go to CubeYard.com. Use coupon order code CY172 for 20% off your first order. CubeYard.com, your source for websites, domain names, and hosting. And back to the topic at hand. affidavit of corporate denial. The single most important thing you can do is an affidavit of corporate denial. There's a Word file that can be used to make an affidavit of corporate denial in the files directory of the Yahoo group. I've also pasted the text of an affidavit of corporate denial into my blog. See the Do-It-Yourself Kangaroo Courts number 7 video about affidavit of corporate denial. Another thing you do is you revoke the voter registration. All voters are U.S. citizens. If you use NSCA.us for an ID card, they will require that you revoke your voter registration, and they have forms to use. You can go to their website and download the form in any event and use that to revoke your voter registration, whether you get their ID card or not. And now another little advertisement. Other videos. Check out my other videos. Bankster Thieves 1, 2, and 3. Churchianity series. Bankrupt corporate so-called governments. Bar members 1, 2, and 3. Do-It-Yourself How Not to Volunteer for the Selective Service. Martial laws here. Do-It-Yourself No Income Tax. Do-It-Yourself No Sales Tax. Do-It-Yourself Traffic Stop 1 and 2. Do-It-Yourself Free Mail 1 and 2. Do-It-Yourself Kangaroo Courts 1 through 9 currently. And back to the topic at hand. Get a common law identification card. There are multiple sources. I've got 2 of them listed here. One of them is the NSCA.us website. The other one is someone I know by the name of Catman, who provides common law ID cards. He's always fighting battles, and so he's perfected it pretty well. If anyone finds others, please let me know. The common law ID card is always the only ID that I ever use, okay? I never produce a driver's license or any other government-issued ID. If I had a valid passport, I might use that, but I would only use it when I'm traveling internationally, and I might not even then. Because they got a date of birth. It's a straw man, even for American national. Although I've heard people having some success with the American national passports. Anyways, this is the NSCA ID. It's got some text on the back. I don't have it in this video, but this is the front. Part of the networking and part of the NSCA process is signing up for a grand jury. We should already be networking with other like-minded people. If we are not networking, then we need to start. We need to work together to convene common law juries. See the jury nullification video. See the grand juries video. Number 5, copyright the name. This is optional. I'm not sure. I've never seen anybody collect anything. But anyways, see Do-It-Yourself Kangaroo Courts number 8, copyright the name. There's a form available in the files directory of the Yahoo group. And I uploaded something to the form to my blog as well. And number 6, estoppel. Okay, so then once you got all of that in place, you make up a notice and demand. And I have a notice and demand form in the files directory of the Yahoo group. Anyways, you serve anyone who has an oath of office who may potentially have something to say to you, like chief of police, county sheriff, district attorney, U.S. marshal, city attorney, county attorney, attorney general, U.S. attorney, FBI special agent in charge, chief judges. See the Do-It-Yourself estoppel certificates video. You need to put them into estoppel, and once your document is recorded, I wouldn't send them a copy of the document. I just reference it and put the document number. They can look it up. And number 7, if any of your public servants do anything but beg forgiveness, file a criminal complaint and send it to the U.S. attorney a copy. I have several criminal complaints that I've uploaded into Google Docs. Contact me privately for a recent criminal complaint form in Word format that can be used as a template because they kind of evolve. And so, that's if, I've had... Most of the time, they don't respond at all, which is actually a good response. Sometimes I've had them send me a letter back telling me I'm full of BS, and I immediately make a criminal complaint and send it to the U.S. attorney, and everybody I've done that to got removed. And and sometimes I've had them send me a copy of their oath of office and surety bond. Well, I would never do anything to harm someone like that. That guy's honorable. But so anyways... watch my videos about asserting sovereignty. I've got a YouTube playlist about that. Anyways, this was short. I appreciate you taking the time to watch the video. This is not everything, but it's the major stuff. And there's other things you can do if you feel like doing it, but it's really not necessary. But this hits on the major points of what you need to do. And there's more to it, not using zip codes, all sorts of things. But this is the documents that you need to file to assert yourself and how to get started. Anyways, thanks for watching and have a real nice day.